Have you ever had to break up with somebody you really liked? Oh, and who also really liked you? Like someone you thought was genuinely awesome and kind and fun and you had a great time with and you could see an amazing future with, but you just couldn't force the attraction? Ugh, that infuriatingly intangible spark that could take them from one of many friends to your one and only lover, if only it decided to show up. I have. And let me tell you, I did not handle it well. Hi, I'm Kelly Shanley, a stand-up comic who spent 10 years on the dating apps in LA. And these are my stories. Welcome to the Dating is Nuts podcast. This is episode 212, the nicest guy I ever dumped. If you missed my last date with Andrew, go back to episode 210 to catch up. Or if this is your first time here, go back to episode 202 and then find your way here. Also, don't forget to check out our Patreon. That's right. If you like the show, you can now sign up to give financial support for just $7 a month. Yeah, think of it as buying me like one overpriced oat milk latte in order to help keep my creative juices flowing. Head over to the link in the show notes to become an OG Lovernutter today. Okay, now back to the episode. So it wasn't Andrew, even though I really, really wanted it to be. My stubborn sex drive simply refused to shift out of park for him. I knew I had to break things off, but it wasn't something I've had much experience with. I've tended to be the dumpy more than the dumper in my past. Not fishing for sympathy or anything. That's just how things tend to play out when you tolerate bad behavior because you're desperate for love. I know. And the ways I had been dumped hadn't exactly taught me the etiquette of how to do it properly. Oh no, I had been ghosted more times than you could count. If someone actually took the time to respond to a follow-up text I sent with a respectful, I don't think we have chemistry, or I'm just not in a place to date anybody right now, or even, yeah, I'm just not as into puns as you are. Okay, you're wrong, but I still consider that a win. At least they took the time to tell me the truth, and I didn't have to sit there wondering if I would one day get the simultaneously flattering and offensive "you up" text at 1 a.m. on a random Tuesday. Texting was the communication status quo for online dating, and that was the world I had inhabited for the last 10 years. There was no such thing as a phone call or a face-to-face breakup. Who has time for that when you've got 8 other matches in your Hinge inbox chomping at the bit to have a $19 cucumber martini with you? So you can guess where this is going, right? Yeah, I texted Andrew to tell him that I just wanted to be friends. Yes, I know. I am embarrassed about it, and you can shame me in the comments. Please do. I deserve it. My intention was to initiate with a text and then follow up with a phone call to discuss things further. I have a history of being a bit passive, and I was just worried that I would get flustered or not be able to articulate my thoughts properly before he interrupted me and said something really sweet and talked me out of it. I wanted to be kind but firm. You know, like a dental hygienist who roasts you for not flossing. That's much easier for me when I've organized and edited my thoughts. I'm a writer. I'm better on paper. I carefully crafted the most genuine and respectful message that I could. I told him how much I enjoyed hanging out with him, that he was one of my most favorite people I'd ever met, but that I just thought we'd be better as friends. I don't normally say that because I don't normally want to be friends with strangers from the internet who don't think I'm awesome, but with Andrew, I actually meant it. I sent the text, and then I waited. About 10 minutes later, he called. Whew. My heartbeat ramped up, and I got that lump in my throat that could be either like tears or vomit. So I just took a deep breath, and then I answered the phone, fully expecting him to go immediately into some version of, "Wait, what?" But instead, he opened with some small talk about his boat, and then after a few minutes, he invited me on another bike ride. Wait, what? Does this mean he saw my message and is cool with it and just wants to be friends? Are we just going to skip over that part? Or did he not see my message at all? Do I mention it? I chickened out again and didn't mention it. Instead, I agreed to the bike ride and then hung up, feeling confused and a little dismissed. The bike ride fell on the day before I was leaving to go back to LA again. I was floundering in the chaos of sorting through boxes of childhood relics in my mom's attic. The full Goosebumps collection by R.L. Stine, anybody? And then packing my bags. Yes, I am a chronic procrastinator, and I don't care who knows it. I had to text Andrew and tell him I couldn't make it out for the bike ride. And then he asked me if we could talk. So I called him right away. This time, we got right to it. He was confused. And regarding my text, felt like
the fucker came out of nowhere.
Yeah, he wasn't wrong. I apologized and told him that I had meant for it to be a starting off point and then we would talk about it on the phone. But then he called and he didn't mention it, so I got confused. Yeah, I called to talk about it, but then I chickened out. Oh, I guess we're both chickens. Double foul. I'm sorry. I handled this badly, I replied, feeling like a grade A dickhead. It was time to knock it off. I was as direct with him as I could be while still being kind. I didn't want him to wonder if there was still hope for the future. I think we had both held the metaphorical door open for each other long enough, and this was the exploration that I needed to fully determine once and for all that Andrew was not my person. I didn't want to leave him hoping, but I also didn't want to be mean. I told him he was one of the best guys that I knew, but I couldn't force chemistry. I'd given it time, hoping that spark would ignite as I got to know him. But I realized for good on our last date that, like a fresh Polaroid exposed to the sun, it just wasn't going to develop. Andrew took the news respectfully, of course. He didn't call me a bitch or tell me my feelings were wrong or curse me to be alone forever. He just told me he was very sad, that he had really enjoyed our time together, and then he wanted to make sure that I knew that. He was such a gentleman, just a class act through and through, which of course made me doubt my decision the second we hung up. I also got choked up. This dating stuff is hard. I had spent so much time being rejected that I didn't really have much empathy for the ones doing the so-called rejecting. But that was really hard. I really liked Andrew. The last thing I wanted to do was hurt him. It gave me a new perspective on those who had dumped me in the past, and a tiny bit of empathy as to why they did it via text, or felt the need to sugarcoat it with a just not right now anyway, or told me that they did love me, but they just needed to be alone and work on themselves right now, when really they already had a new girlfriend. All right, maybe no empathy for that one. Letting people down is hard. Hurting someone you care about is brutal. In the moment, it may seem like the kinder thing to do is to soften the blow, to make it not about them, or even tell them that you do love them. Don't do that. But in reality, the kinder thing to do in the long run is to just be honest. Sure, you might feel like a monster telling someone who's looking at you with teary puppy dog eyes that you're never going to want to be with them. But ultimately, it's better for them. Yes, it stings in the moment. I would know. But at least when that moment is over, they can skip past the denial stage and get right to the anger and the hot-ass revenge body stages. This doesn't give you free license to be cruel. It just means that when you're breaking someone's heart, try to only do it once. If you leave things too open and they keep hoping, when they see that picture of you and your new boo riding roller coasters together at Six Flags and they finally realize that you're never coming back to them, their heart will break all over again. And yes, that very specific example did happen to me. I still feel badly about the way I ended things with Andrew. Almost as badly as I feel about the way Game of Thrones ended things with Daenerys. Yes, still. This is when I realized how the callous nature of online dating had rubbed off on me. I had measured our relationship in weeks and number of dates, focusing on the brevity rather than the connection because it made me feel less guilty. But our time together was special, and it deserved a better send-off. I hope Andrew knows that I appreciate him, and I'm sorry for being a big chicken. Ultimately, it was a happy ending for both of us. Having finally explored the possibility of a relationship and realizing it was not meant to be, we were both able to release each other and move on to new partners. Andrew found someone almost immediately, which made me very happy to see, via social media. And as for me, I was one step closer to finding the man I would give up peanut butter for. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review, subscribe, and be sure to tell your friends. Okay, seriously, if you thought of anyone during this episode, I don't know, maybe someone who ghosts people too often, or, thinks it's okay to end meaningful relationships via text message, you should send this to them. Obviously, it helps me if you share this with people, but I genuinely hope it helps you too to feel a little less alone in your chaotic dating journey. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and be sure to tune in to our next episode where I will go on an accidental group date with my family and Carter. I'm still Kelly Shanley, and I'll see you next time, Lovernutters. Yes, I'm a I'm a chronic procrastinator. Anyway, I'm a chronic procrastinator, and I don't care who knows it. Oh. Fuck, it's hot in here. Am I shiny? Not really. Okay. So hot. Okay. All right. Excuse me. This dating stuff is hard. Again. When in reality, they already had a new girlfriend. Thanks, Horn.